Alarum bal jate varator naravore. In traditional Mandoa, in English, it means welcome and good morning, my brothers and sisters. My name is Udesla Jorir. I am the co-founder of the Way of The Mandalore Religious Movement. We are a registered domestic nonprofit in the state of Ohio and a legal 501c3 private charity. As usual, before we begin, we need to make it clear that this video and other social media posts are for religious educational purposes only. No one involved in the social media pages or multimedia messages are lawyers, and nothing in this or any other message or social media post is to be taken as legal advice. Disclaimer ends. Moving on now. Welcome once again to the Way of the Mandalore Religious Movement. If you are so inclined, please consider giving us a like and a follow here and on our various social media pages. And consider donating to the Patreon so we can continue to produce these multimedia messages and spread the way to those who are willing to hear it. You can find us on Facebook by searching for The Way of the Mandalore, the Mandalorian Religious Movement. We are also on Instagram and MeWe and have a limited Twitter presence. Links, as usual, are in the description. In our last message, we continued our discussion regarding a Mandalorian's holy and sacred articles of faith with the fifth tenet and a Mandalorian's requirement to treat all weapons and armor as holy. In this video, we will be moving on to a Mandalorian's care of him or herself. Tenet 6, train both body and mind. A Mandalorian must, to the best of their individual ability, train both their bodies and minds in the way. As keepers of the way, it is essential that we train ourselves in both physical and mental discipline. This is not limited to combat readiness, physical fitness, or firearms and weapons knowledge, but also includes training our minds to keep them sharp and prepared. In speaking of the body, exercise, practice a martial art, engage in a sport or recreational activity that keeps the body fit and mobile. Any of these are a great way to maintain a healthy body, and in doing so, we help to ensure that when necessary, defense of ourselves and others is not inhibited by the limitations of a neglected body. This aspect of the sixth tenet relates directly to the fourth tenet regarding the defense of yourself and of others. How can you expect yourself to be capable of defense if you neglect your own body? True, we never know what we are capable of until we are in that situation, but that doesn't mean that we should not do whatever is possible to prepare for it. Mental training. Our minds are our first line of defense. Strength of mind goes hand in hand with strength of body and situational awareness to ensure that we are prepared for the situations we may encounter. Reading books, acquiring skills, and gaining experience that contribute to our development as keepers of the way. We must possess a keen mind and do what we can to keep it honed. Now, some of this relates strongly to Tenet 8, and we'll explore it more when we get there. But training your mind is more than just expanding your knowledge through reading and study. As the saying goes, iron sharpens iron. So doing things like engaging in honest and respectful debate, playing strategy and problem-solving games, partaking in thought experiments with your friends, taking classes on public speaking, or joining debate clubs. However you choose to do so, learn how to express your views in clear ways, but also how to justify them with logic and reason. And, more importantly, learn to accept and acknowledge when you are wrong, and learn from it. Accepting correction gracefully is an essential part of strengthening your mind. Spiritual, mental, and emotional fitness are also included in this. These disciplines are not just about acquiring knowledge. They're also about cultivating a mental, emotional, and yes, even spiritual resilience. As Mandalorians, we must strive to keep our emotions in check, especially in high-pressure situations. We must not be eager or quick to lash out because of fear or anger. These emotions serve a purpose, but they can also cloud our judgment and limit our ability to act and our effectiveness when we do act. Training in the way. All knowledge is a good thing to possess and pursue. All knowledge is valuable to us as keepers, but not all knowledge is specifically related to the way as a religion and doesn't necessarily apply to us as keepers in that context. This means that we need to make sure to set time and effort aside to train both our bodies and our minds in a manner that will specifically apply to us as Mandalorians. This means that the act of learning and training is not to be viewed simply as absorbing facts or exercising simply for health reasons. Pure fitness and fight training are not the entirety of this tenet. As Mandalorians, we must also train and be proficient in the use of whatever weapons we choose to carry and own. Do you practice drawing your firearm from a holster while standing and sitting? Do you drill with failure to feed malfunctions? How comfortable are you with your ballistic armor rig? How often have you drilled with your backup weapon? All examples of aspects of physical training that fall under this part of the tenet. Discipline. Discipline is at the heart of the sixth tenet. For us to prepare ourselves for the possibility of conflict, whether physically, mentally, or emotionally, we have to have a disciplined mind. Discipline helps to focus the mind and remain calm in the face of both danger and pain. Along with discipline comes control. Control not only over our actions, but our emotional responses. As Frank Herbert said,
"You must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. No fear is my fear. I will let it pass through me. When the fear is gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain."
Training our minds must also include training to acknowledge our emotions, but work to remain in control of their influences. Now let's clarify one point before we close out this message. There's a lot of language relating to this tenet that might seem to exclude some people. And like many other aspects of this religion, the phrase "to the best of their individual abilities" comes into play here and should not be forgotten or downplayed in any way. Let's be honest, life happens. Not everyone has the time to dedicate to becoming experts in martial arts or spending 90 minutes at the gym every day. Likewise, people with certain physical or mental disabilities or illnesses may not have the same capacity to train at the same intensity or frequency as others. And others may simply not have the same ability to retain and regurgitate information. Or they may not possess the same natural skill as others. Now, this doesn't mean that all who seek to keep the way of the Mandalore are expected to be Olympic caliber athletes or to have black belts in multiple disciplines or have fitness competitor body fat percentages. And no one expects all Mandalorians to be Mensa members or to be experts in any specific topic. Only that we have an honest view of ourselves and our fitness levels, both mental and physical, and that we seek to improve them in the best way that we can. This does not make one any less a Mandalorian than any other keeper who has more time or physical or mental ability, provided that those hardships are not used as an excuse to do nothing. to the best of their individual abilities means exactly that. We all have different lives and challenges that we face, and while we should always be encouraging fellow keepers in their efforts,
Here! You'll need this.
I cannot lift this.
Grow stronger!
we must not look down upon those who maybe cannot do as much as others for legitimate reasons. The world is often a dark and dangerous place, and it's easy to become cynical, callous, or even cold regarding it. This is why it is so important to remember that there is also light, and that light, like peace, is precious and must be protected. And we must all, to the best of our individual abilities, be there to protect it. We cannot give ourselves over to hopelessness, for even if only we stand, there is still someone left to fight on. A Mandalorian must never let the cruelty and malignancy of the world bear down on their spirit. And with that, we close out this brief overview on the sixth tenet of the Way of the Mandalore, train both body and mind. We do hope that you learned a little bit more about us and our religious beliefs. Our next video will be covering the seventh tenet, judge others by their actions only, where we will be discussing a Mandalorian's requirement to not discriminate on anything other than an individual's actions and choices. Until next time, Vode, Vorentie Manduade, Valkuir Marutiak Ibikruni. Thank you, brothers and sisters, and be safe. This is the way.